Evening everyone, this is the day 14 solution. This is probably the video you're going to watch the most if you've never built an assembly before, and like what I explained this morning on the introduction to the challenge, this one is the combination of the parts we've made over the last few days. This assembly in its format, we've just taken the six components because we're only doing one view, but if you want to go and do a third or second view, then obviously you can use the other components and integrate them as well. So this one, we're just going to take the base component, which we did the upper channels, so left and right are the same. We have then the upper version of the lower channels, which is number 3. 4th is our top mount. 5 is our screw, and 6 is the handle. And obviously we did do all the connectors as well, but this is just very much a basic approach on how to construct an assembly. So onto AutoCAD. Okay, the first thing you need to do is you need to open up where you have your files. So you basically need to go through from day 8, which was the base, day 9, which was the lower channel, day 10, which was the upper channel and the handle. 11 was the screw connectors, so we're not going to need those for this view, but if you want to use it on the side view or the top view, you'll need to use them. Okay, day 12 is our top view, and then day 13 was our screw based component, and that's all going to match into our day 14. So what you need to do is, once you've opened up your components, so reopen your files, and then what we need to do is we need to convert these to blocks. So this is going to turn off the dimensions. Okay, now we're going to use the command W block, and what this will do is open up this secondary menu. Okay, and you can write a file path, and if you press the 3 little dots, you can save these to whatever file that you do. Because this is like an instructional video, I just save everything to my desktop, and I've got quick access to it. But you guys want to save this to maybe a OneDrive or a personal documents folder, that way. So what you can do is you can name your block. So I'm going to name this as, I don't know, base, or I've actually known them as numbers 01. So save, select the object, so I'm going to choose the view I want to save, enter, OK to accept, and then this actually accepts it as an actual file. So what I can do now is go into open, reference my desktop, find base, which is there, and this is actually its own individualized file, which is now one big block. So if I click on it, that's actually one file I can manipulate, and it was saved to that location. So I'm just going to close out that one, and I'm going to close up 8 because I don't actually need any more in 8. Go to a new drawing, and I recommend that you save this before you start. So I'm just going to save this to my location. So just put another day 14. And then walk through. Okay, so save that one. Okay, the first thing you want to do is this. Basically, once you blocked all your components through, is then you bring them in one by one. So I'm going to go into the Insert tab. You have to do Insert, and it'll look at block, so you can do up here Insert, and then Insert will drop down another little menu. Then you can obviously choose blocks or from libraries. Now if you go to recent blocks, which is here, okay, it'll bring all the blocks that you've recently used, or you can go into the libraries and you can go through the libraries and find that folder. Once you find that folder once, it'll be then everything will then be in recent. So I'm going to use the recent folder because I've got all mine here. So what I'm going to do first thing is bring my base in, which I've named as a 1 in this one. I'm going to link it to my 0, 0 point. So my 0, 0 point now here. Okay, a bit like every other drawing, we have to make some connections so that everything can slot together. So I'm going to do that in my construction layer. So using the X-line tool, I'm going to specifically hit a point. Okay, and I want to do this now to essentially 35 degrees or 135 degrees or 45. So bring up to 135. And an X line from the second point. This is going to line up our channels at 45. And we're going to hit an X line from the center, which will be lock into that point. and that's going to be the first element. So I'm going to bring in my section 2, which is my lower channel. Okay, that's a lower channel because I've got a little kind of welded piece in between. Lock it to a base and then lock it to my circle. Okay, so now the two are mated together, and then we've just got to do a rotate from that point. And then what I can now do is I can either latch it onto the X line this way, or I can latch it onto the X line this way. So I need it at 45 degrees, which is now what it's done. So you can either now do the right hand side, or you can just mirror it afterwards. It's entirely up to you. But what I'm now going to do now again is put another X line in from that point, and again 45 degrees. That'll be down the top channel. So I'm going to bring in my number 3 component, which is here. So just put it away. Select the move, link the 2 circles. So rotate. Okay, and again we can also link it to that one again. So now we've got obviously like 90-degree bend, 45 degrees. Okay, now we can have a mirror this. And then select 2 points on that center line and keep the original ones like in that. Now I'm going to bring in number 8, which is my top, and roughly it looks like it's going to line up, so I'm just going to roughly put that one up the top, then do a move. It may be slightly out, but just needs a bit of adjustment maybe. Okay, that's over the top. Those two are lined up perfectly now. So there's my components in. Now before I bring in the next components, I'm just going to do an element of trimming. So what I'm going to do is highlight everything, explode, so take it out of the block format, make it so I can select every individual line again, and I'm going to start to trim. So these channels sit in between the base. I won't be able to see this component apart from the externals. So I'm just going to come through. I'm actually going to turn off my construction lines for a second, just so I'm going to have too much interference. Like so. Okay. Okay, like so. So there's our initial kind of frame. So now we can bring in our next bit of components. So next I'm going to bring this screw, which I've named as number 9. Okay, I'm going to sort of roughly get it in line. Move. I'm now going to move it to a set point, like so. Now you guys would have made one 880 plus the after all 20, so it'd be 900. Obviously I only made one, so what I'm going to do is I can now draw a line from this point and do it as 880. Line. Ah, because I'm doing construction, obviously. Okay, line. Like so. And do another line that's again 880. So I'm just literally drawing over the top. If you've already done this, you haven't got to worry about too much. Like so. So that's sort of like the thread. It's just important to be really careful at this stage to make sure everything is lined up. Obviously, you're only going to get the wrong elements. I'm just going to trim out my section here. I mean, I could have just actually just exploded it and made it longer, but so just going to get rid of that one. Okay, like so. So now again we can use the trim function, because obviously I'm not going to see this bit running through, because I'll sit through those kind of screw channels. There we go. That's that one. And then last thing to do is bring in the handle, which I know this 4. Look at that point maybe. So rotate this one around. Good thing with a rectangle is you better pick up the center point, so we can rotate around the center point. Now, another good one is to just do center to center. Okay, now because this hole should now be on the top, rather than me redraw it, I can just delete it because we don't actually need it in that element there. Do an explode. Trim. Okay, now that's given us then our handle. So there's sort of our element now. So there's our long kind of screw, handle, elements, top and bottom. Okay, so that's all I need on blocks. There's my 6 components. What I'm going to do now is just come in with my leader and choose each section like so. So this is section number 1. I'm going to make these like maybe size 8. Maybe actually do 10 possibly. So number 1, enter again, choose another point, so you can call it number 2. What I am going to do is you can just copy and paste them these rather than and put 3 in. 4. 4. 5 you could say is the handle. 5 and lastly, sorry, the screw, sorry, lastly 5 is the handle. And then 6 for the handle. Get mixed up all. Okay, so there's those sort of elements here. Then you could come across into, if you've obviously done your page border like what I have, or you could just print it off directly, is you're going to bring your page view in. I'm going to change this to, this is going to be at least half scale here. Sort of drop down my half sort of scale like so. I know that's obviously longer, but we don't really need to worry too much here. Then we can bring in a table. Yeah, if I'm happy with that, bring a table in. What I'm going to do, I'm going to latch it onto the outside, and this is my parts list. Okay, then we're just going to come down to part number 1, which was the base. Part number 2, which was the lower channel. Part number 3, which was the upper channel. Part number 4, which was the top plate. 5, which was the screw. 6, which was the handle. So just go to layout, make sure we're all happy. Middle center, both, which is fine. Now what I'm going to do is move command, choose the top right. I'm going to come in and place this in the top right of my border. Like so. Now what I can either do is I can manipulate the parts, so numbers don't really need to be that big. Stretch down like so, happy with that. And then there we have our little parts list and our view. So then when we go to obviously print, for me obviously I come down, I need to change all this information for what you guys see. But I can get a plot and I can get a PDF version, so I can now get a plot, output my PDF. Again, if you don't know how to do this, you can sort of have a look at some of the earlier videos that I did, and it shows you how to set all this up, so it's nice and straightforward. And then up will come then the view and Adobe, so I'm just going to rotate one round. And there we have it, there's our first mini assembly, six components, and feel free to have a bit more fun and try and work on this as a bit of a tool. So just make sure that, again, using stuff like explode, using trims, mirrors, make sure you still do that construction to make sure you get everything lined up properly, and it's just as easy as that. So have fun, guys, and see you tomorrow.